get no rest. No, no. I've been down so long that my mind can't get no rest. No, no. This ain't easy, darling, 'cause the devil's on my trail. I've been running so long that my feet don't work no more. Oh yeah, I've been running so long that my feet don't work no more. Oh no, it ain't easy, darling, when the devil's on my trail. Oh yeah.
Welcome to another edition of 6 Feet Apart with Sean and TJ. I'm your host, Sean Mooningham, Executive Director here at Felix E. Martin Jr. Hall, along with my co-host and artistic partner in crime, Tech Director TJ Teague. We welcome today our guest, Mr. Brad Downall, the Executive Director at the Glema Mahr Center for the Arts over in Madisonville. Welcome, Brad.
Thanks for having me.
How's it going?
It's going.
It's not going, don't lie.
Yeah, no.
We know.
We
know.
I had accidentally told somebody that they said, "What are you doing this week?" I said, "Well, on Thursday I've got this 6 foot under thing."
Apart. We're not under
we're
yet.
not 6 foot under.
Yes.
Yet. So that's the next series.
Yes.
So,
Long way from that.
Yes.
Long time.
Yes,
Long time
hopefully.
from
The afterlife.
people will be dying to watch it.
that. 6 foot under.
Ba-dum-bum.
Thank you. I'm here all week. So Brad, you've been at the Glema Center longer than all of our imaginary studio audience has been alive. So,
Yes.
and it started out, oddly enough, as a tech director, not a transition that a lot of people make, but
Right.
we call our
And-
first segment here "Bridging the Gap." So some of our people don't know your story here in Kentucky. You want to fill them in on what?
Well, the majority, the longest I had lived anywhere was in Minnesota until the last few years. Now I have lived longer in Madisonville than anywhere else. But I was born in Minnesota. When I was going into 6th grade, we moved down to Nashville. When I graduated high school, I moved back up to Minnesota. Was a theater major in college, so I thought I would be gainfully unemployed as an actor, but then kind of switched to tech. And I could always put at least ramen noodles on my table. Well, I didn't have a table, but I could put ramen noodles in a bowl doing tech. And then I was at a transition point in my life in 91. Mom and Dad were still in Nashville. And I thought it was a good time to get closer to Mom and Dad. And MCC had just opened what was then called the Fine Arts Center, or they were getting ready to open it. And so I was the first TD hired there in November of 91. I became director in 99. Now, I had moved to Madisonville. When I got there, I thought, okay, this is good for 2 years tops. And it's now 29 years later, and I'm still there. So.
Minnesota's loss is our gain, I guess. So.
Yes. And though my going away party date from Duluth, Minnesota coincided with Game 7 of the 1991 World Series, which Jack Morris pitched a 10-inning shutout.
Yeah.
And so it was a Minnesota win that sent me down to
Gotcha.
Kentucky.
I see what he did there. So,
Yeah.
It was nice.
I think I just watched that game in the last couple of weeks. It was
Well, yeah,
on, yeah.
that's
Good on.
yeah. You can tell what kind of state the world is in when, they play the World Series of 1901 on ESPN to fill the air.
Yeah.
It
Well-
is definitely a different world that we are in right now.
We were speaking earlier about we're enjoying doing things like this and finding new ways to engage people and keep people interested in the arts. But we're really ready for some live to come back into our
Some
lives.
Boy,
live
are we? And we have had that conversation too over in Madisonville about, you know, how do we keep our audience engaged? And for the short term, on Facebook, we've been, you know, sharing the Grand Ole Opry and different things like that, and also some of the artists who have performed at the Glema, when they have shared something, we have shared it. I have a lot of colleagues across the country who are talking about, well, how can we monetize streaming? Well, it's kind of hard to. So I think what we can do at best is to try to keep our audience engaged. Right now, I'm plenty busy. I turned into project manager for the renovations at the Glema, that we're calling it Dress Up the Glema. Time to get her a new dress. You know, we've been open almost 30 years and have had about 40,000 people a year in there, and it's telling. And there are some things, a very popular design when the building was built was called continental seating. It was where you have 48 seats going across and no aisle.
Right.
Well, the older we get, the more uncomfortable that is. So we are installing a center aisle, which also meant removing a row. The seating that we had was new to the building. The company that manufactured the seats went out of business 3 years after the center opened. And they did not sell off that part of the company, which meant nobody had replacement parts. So as you know, we are borrowing from Peter to pay Paul to repair. And we felt it was just time to go ahead and get new theater seating while we were making the improvements.
Yeah. So what all's being done besides the seating?
The auditorium is getting a fresh coat of paint from stem to stern, and new colors to kind of go with the improvements we made in the lobby last year. New carpeting, new orchestra shell. The orchestra shell has seen better days, and it was a prototype design that they decided after they made the one for us that it was only a prototype design. There were some structural problems with it, and it used to be that one person, if they were in really good shape, could move one piece of the shell. Now it takes 4 people because it's just wearing out. It marks the floor every time you move it, and it's time.
Yeah.
Dressing rooms, kitchen, green room are all getting a facelift. New flooring, new furniture, new paint, new kitchen cabinets. We had a 30-year-old refrigerator in there that definitely needed to be replaced, and that is too. We are getting a dishwasher, so that if we ever do shows again.
When you do shows.
Oh, yes.
Not if ever, when.
Yes.
So, and then the sound system, we did improve, major improvements to the sound system in 2007, but it was, I guess, not fully explained to us, but as soon as it was in, it was obvious that the line array system, the stack of speakers, if you looked at where they were aiming, it was about mid-house. And so there was a void in the whole front third of the auditorium, which is why we had a lot of complaints from people in front. I mean, we did things to augment it, but that meant for every single show we did, we had to rent more speakers, and they were in less than ideal positions. We, stack them on the stage. But what we did is we found a match to the exact speaker system that we got that was in lightly used condition, so that you have everything is perfectly aligned with the old system, same brand, everything. So now we've got exactly what we need. So I think sound will be greatly improved. We're getting a new digital board, which speaks a whole nother language than I do. And then we're doing some cosmetic work on the exterior as well. The building has had a lot of use, so we're just trying to get it sparkling again.
Yeah, well, I'm excited to see and hear it all once
Right.
Mhm.
once you get finished. You talked about keeping people engaged currently. You wouldn't be doing anything this summer, I guess, anyway, with all the improvements.
Well, actually, we were going to wait until after Mamma Mia, but Mamma Mia got canceled. And that's when that happened. And when it was obvious that we couldn't do a summer arts academy the traditional way, we have ended up, we are keeping our audience engaged through we have 75 kids signed up for our virtual summer arts academy. And that's going on right now. It's just not quite the same.
Right.
You know, you can still hear Mr. Tolliver's falsetto voice up high as he's teaching the K through second how to sing a song, but it's just not the same when you hear their voices coming back through a speaker.
Yeah.
We decided initially when we had to reschedule the 6 shows from the spring, we put some of them in the fall. And once we did that, we thought, well, we're either going to have to wait until after those fall shows or do the renovation before. At that point, they were still wanting to do commencement in June. So I was thinking that we would have to wait. By mid-May, it became obvious that it would not be possible to have commencement the way we wanted to. So at that point, I got the green light, which meant we had 2 weeks to remove the auditorium seating. And of course, being that we were officially closed down, we had to get special permission for just myself and the tech director to go into the building. So the 2 of us, in about 3.5, 4 days of work, removed 1,000 seats. We could barely walk.
And live to tell about it.
Yes,
so.
we lived to tell about it, but we had to get it out of there so that that the painter could get in there. Yeah. And get out in time for the carpet layer to get in so that they can lay the carpet before the seats come in. And of course, that's all assuming that all the factories will remain open and that there's not going to be another closing, because everybody shut down for a little while, but now they're back open again. But, that's the continuation of the first wave is not done with us. And so that's, we're just crossing our fingers and hoping that everything comes in time. And if not, we'll put folding chairs in there. What can you do?
Yeah. In a typical non-pandemic year, kind of walk our viewers through a normal season at Glema.
Well, the way it's been for the last several years is we do 2 half seasons. We kind of combine road shows and community program, very much like Martin Hall does. We give things equal weight. In a half season, we'll do what we call as 3 center stage shows, which could be anything from a ballet to America to, well, we have Martina McBride currently scheduled. We're hoping that we can work something out to move that back. So that there's a real mix there. Sometimes we'll do a Broadway style play, but being that the community is doing more theater now, we don't bring as much theater in. We also have a family series. We do one in the fall and one in the spring. And that's aimed for an audience of all ages, be it a magic act or we had a circus style show last year that was really quite fun. We do what we call our minor series, or they're on stage series, where the audience sits on stage with the audience. We have a chamber music series, which we've been doing since I came to the Glema. And 2 in the fall, 2 in the spring. We also do a coffee house series where it's something other than classical music. We have jazz, we've had singer-songwriters, we've had Zydeco, many different styles of music. And that we have an average audience between 150 and 200 for that one. So the stage gets pretty full, but it is possible that we could reopen with the chamber music concerts and the coffee house concerts set in the auditorium, where the audience is in the auditorium.
Right.
And that we limit seating. Where we're still negotiating that. We're still trying to figure out what we can do, because guidelines still have not been set for venues. And then we have a partnership with the school system as well. So we produce the 2 high school musicals that Hopkins County Schools put on. They very much like what happens here, where it is, this is, you're actually the school system. We aren't, but we act like it when, because they don't have a venue in the school system. So we have a full partnership with them.
Right.
And that will be determined how that relationship will work, because we bring in all sorts of professional theater for school days matinees, and they bring the school kids in, and it's a true partnership that we have with the school system. But what's the school year going to look like? You don't know what it's going to look like in Muhlenberg.
Not yet.
Ms. Bumps doesn't know. Nobody knows. And they, in August, you may know what it will look like in August, but you don't know what it will look like in September.
Yeah.
So that's the same thing over in our neck of the woods.
You mentioned your community series. I know, and you mentioned earlier that Mamma Mia, the summer musical that did not happen now. Is that scheduled for next year? Or is that
That
planned?
is scheduled for next year. We usually do a dinner theater every year in February. We have no idea what that will look like next year. But I'd love to keep doing, 2 shows a year in community theater. At one point, we even did 3, but that was before we had the 2 high school musicals that we were doing as well. And there's only so many hours in the day, as you gentlemen know, to get all that stuff done. And when you usually when we're rehearsing the dinner theater, they come in at 6:30 as the high school musical cast is leaving.
Yeah.
because they're rehearsing as well. And then we do piggyback the shows right on top of the other one. So also we have a community choir, MCC singers. They do 2 big performances, one usually in December, one in April. The one in April, we hired a guest artist. They are postponed until next spring. But we're really not sure how that's going to look, because they say that that's probably the last thing to come back to normal is choral, because your singers, where the 6-foot radius for us normal guys, for singers, they're saying it's really more like 21 feet.
Right.
So.
The more, and we've talked about this several times, the further along we go, the further along we don't know where we're going.
Right,
So
exactly.
It's,
Yeah.
it's,
The herder I go, the behinder I get. And that really is it. And it changes daily. And it's different. The longer you're around somebody, the more likely it is that contagion can happen, is what they're finding with this particular disease. And it's different being outside at a function or running in the park and passing somebody who's coughing than being in a theater in closed proximity with one heating and cooling system. And that's everybody's concern.
Well, let's take a step away and hear from our sponsors. And when we get back, maybe we'll figure out where we're going next. More with Brad Downall in just a second. Welcome back to 6 Feet Apart with Sean and TJ. We're continuing our discussion with Brad Downall, the Executive Director over at Glema Mahr Center for the Arts in Madisonville. You mentioned earlier when you first started there, it was called the Fine Arts Center. And of course, now we all know it as Glema, or the Glema.
The Glema.
Yes.
And so let's talk a little bit about who the Glema,
Yes.
who she was.
Because I realize now that we have been named the Glema Center for 20 years. And young kids have no idea what that is. And actually artists would say, I remember when Rockapella was doing the concert and they said, "What is Glema anyway?" And somebody said, "Oh, I think that's a corporation." And somebody else, one of the other singers said, "No, I think she was a rich old lady." And at that time, there was a voice from the middle of the audience as Glema stood up and she said, "Is a rich old lady."
That's perfect.
Yes.
And that's
So that describes
that sums her up really well.
Yeah. Glema and her husband Merle moved to Madisonville in the mid-50s when Trover Clinic was started. Merle was brought in as one of the original partners. He was the general surgeon. And they made their life there. They eventually moved, built a house on this farm that was within the city limits. And first Glema raised horses, and then she started raising Black Angus cattle. He died on their 50th anniversary in 1991. And Glema's next door neighbor, after about 6-7 months, said, "Okay, Glema, time to quit feeling sorry for yourself and get down to that new art center and volunteer." And once she was in the door, she never left. She was a great volunteer, then started sponsoring our chamber music series, kind of adopted the center staff as her family, and bossed us around because that was what she did. And then shortly after I became director, we had talked about the direction of the center and the fact that if the economy tanked, we needed an endowment to fall back on. At that point, about 2 hours later, she called and said, I've been thinking about the tax advantage of a charitable remainder trust gift, and I've decided to do that. And I said, well, what are we talking about? And she said, oh, probably about $1 million. And I said, that you'll have your name on the building. And she said, well, you don't have to do that. But by the time we ordered the sign for the front, every day she'd come into my office and she'd say, Brad, when's that sign going to get here? Fill in the blank there.
Yeah.
And anyway, I have described Glema to many people as a Nebraska farm girl with the heart of an angel and the mouth of a sailor.
Very fitting. Yes.
So, but she absolutely, and rightly so, she was able to bask in the glory of having a building named after her for the last 10 years she was alive.
Yeah.
So that was really, really great. And it was, so I think it's great that we have the Glema Center. And now Madisonville has Mahr Park. When she passed away, there was a trust gift to the city to have their farm is now a passive natural park.
With walking trails, and I think there's
Yes.
disc golf and
Right.
a little bit of everything out there. So I love the fact that she was a volunteer there for so many years beforehand. I
Right.
can remember doing shows there, and she jumped in just like anyone else.
Yep.
Albeit with the colorful commentary going on.
Yes.
But
Yeah. Well, also when she'd work bus duty for school days matinees, and if the kids started going the wrong direction, she'd do her hog call to get them, moving in the right direction. And and it worked. So yeah, she was definitely a colorful individual, and it's such a great thing for the arts. And it is so needed now to have people like Glema, like Felix, that, I don't think anybody knew the legacy that Felix Martin would leave. He was just a quiet man sitting in the corner of church, and, but it's wonderful what he has enabled Muhlenberg County to, the things to happen, and the things in the arts to happen.
Yeah.
And moving forward, we will really need that. I have heard, well, we all hear rumors, but, right now, artists are not performing. So you have individuals who are struggling. Orchestras are not performing. Nashville Symphony just announced that they would shut down until July of 21. I'm hearing that there are arts organizations of many different sizes that will not come out of this.
Yeah.
And it's the same with businesses, and it's just the way it is. Yeah.
It's very scary.
Yeah, and both Martin Hall and the Glema we're lucky that we are a part of larger organizations. We're not a standalone.
Mhm.
So that we do have that to help us get through this time.
Yeah, we've talked many times that we're very fortunate to be in the situation that we are,
Thankful every day.
to be in the employment situation that we are.
Yeah.
And
Oh, you guys get paid?
a couple times a month, but here lately anyway.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they meant to do that or not,
Yeah.
but I'm not gonna. We'll edit that out.
We'll
Nobody
edit
will know
that out, yeah.
we actually do. So, but there is. We don't want to make light of the situation that so many find themselves in, both economically and physically,
Right.
and with their health.
Well, SkyPack down in Bowling Green did receive a nice emergency package in the first round.
Right.
And I talked with an employee yesterday who said they're okay through the end of August. And we all know that we probably won't be opening at the end of August. Kentucky Center laid off probably better than 75, 80% of their workforce, furloughed them through the end of June, but several of those, I guess, are not being brought back either through retirement or whatever. So I'm not even sure what's going to happen there. The larger organization, I think the less flexibility they have in a way.
But do you think too? I mean, it's not. It is scary, and eventually we will get through it when you do have shows again, when we have
Yeah.
shows again. But it's not. It's probably not the first time in our history that the arts have been in trouble or struggled. And then what comes out of that usually a lot of innovative and unique things and ideas,
Right,
performances,
right.
and things that come out to
Well, and after the Great Depression,
right.
it was really the what was it? The WPA.
Right. It was
Or,
the W. That's right. It was the WPA.
That was
FDR.
there was something that supported artists in creating work.
I think it was the WPA.
Yeah, and
This is-
that helped Mel Brooks, Arthur Miller, household names, actually get established.
Right, and the government was paying them at that time. And
Yes.
they paid Woody Guthrie to write a few songs
Mhm.
about some of the projects that were going on during the New Deal and everything else. They paid them and commissioned them to do those things, which was
And
very unique.
and once he got his voice, they were probably going, "Wait a minute, what's he saying?"
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
True.
But yes, and but art has always found a way to survive. People make art even when they're not making a living. So art will continue to happen. And I think in some ways, the more desperate things are, sometimes the greater the art is. I remember being at a conference a few years ago, and we had a surprise guest speaker who just happened to be in the building, so they asked him to come. It was right during the annual banquet, so Jesse Jackson came in and spoke to us, and he talked about some of the greatest art that this country that happened in this country's history was during the era of the Jim Crow laws. And he said, sometimes art flourishes when it has to.
Very true.
You were go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, you were during the break. You were talking about some of the things, maybe some of the things, the acronyms we were calling them in the state that's helping maybe to keep art alive and helping.
Well, currently I'm a member of Kentucky Theater Association, and Sean has helped out with that in the past. I know I'm the immediate past president and about ready to go off the board in December after their next annual conference, if that happens. But it is a service organization that serves theater at all levels in the state of Kentucky. We have made great inroads into Western Kentucky as far as the number of high schools that are involved. We switched to a regional play festival format a few years ago, which included Western Kentucky. That's either been in Madisonville or up in Owensboro, was where that regional festival is. And we've had 5 schools competing from our region. We've had 31 overall in the last few years. And then the finalists, usually 12 finalists, then move on to the state level. There's a community theater festival as well. There's a new play festival encouraging Kentucky playwrights. And we have about 600-700 people at those festivals. So it's really quite fun. and that keeps theater being produced in the Commonwealth. Another organization just reached out to me with similar letters. It's KFTA instead of KTA, and that's Kentuckians for the Arts. It is an advocacy group that was basically started as a Facebook group back in 2016 when there was a threat that the Arts Council, Kentucky Arts Council, might be completely defunded and done away with. Now, that did not happen. And so the group kind of was there. They had a 501c3, but didn't do a lot at that point. But now they feel that it's very important to have arts advocacy at the state and regional level, even at the local level, so that people realize that there is an economic impact. It's more than just you breaking even as an organization or the Glema breaking even. It's the economic impact of what us being closed would mean to Hopkins County, or all of the restaurants and hotels around here. When you have an act, people come in, stay one night, spend money on buying antiques, whatever, that there's a trickle down. And so it's getting that word out. So they are really gearing up and have asked me to be on the board moving forward. So I hope that there will be some shaking of trees and all sorts of stuff.
You never know what'll fall out.
Right.
Kentucky Presenters, we have a meeting with them later on today.
Yes,
So,
Kentucky Presenters has back in the day, they were very active when there was a lot of grants for block booking, meaning that artists or organizations in the same region would go together and get a greater fee. And then when there were less grants available, the organizations kind of lost interest, and Kentucky Presenters for the last 8-9 years has been pretty dormant. Personally, I have joined Tennessee Presenters because I like working with other presenters. I think it keeps me engaged. But with what has happened with COVID-19, several of the Kentucky Presenters were interested in getting a consensus as a group as to what good reopening guidelines would be. And so we are gathering back together, albeit virtually, this afternoon, and we're speaking with the Deputy Commissioner of Public Health, Dr. Connie White. I guess she works with Dr. Stack, and about what their concerns are in us moving forward. Also, we're going to kind of take the temperature of the organizations to see what kind of trouble they're in, how they're doing.
So it's there's a lot going on even when there's not much going on, I guess.
Right. Yeah. Boy, if there were a lot going on, I'd really be in trouble. It's like I told my staff, because I have been so busy picking out floor color and doing this and doing that and getting the bids for the different things. And I was thinking, and I really was naive enough to think that I could do this and run a summer arts academy. In fact, I was going to be the lead teacher for the senior academy that would be going on right now. And I thought, there is no way. There is no way I could have done that all.
Yeah.
But of course, then the project would have been delayed and would be happening in August, September, October, November, as opposed to right now.
Yeah. There's only so many hats you can wear at once for you.
Yes.
Said something. You have a staff?
There's 3 of us.
Yeah, we were going to have a staff meeting just here, talk amongst
Yeah.
yourself for a second.
Yes.
But,
Well, no, we have a full-time staff of 3, and then we have part-time student labor, and then 1 other half-time position.
and you have a great team of volunteers there as well.
Yes.
as
Yes, we do.
Yes, we do
Yes,
as
we
well.
do. And that is another concern. Our volunteers, and probably with your organization as well, a lot of them are over the age of 65 and are at-risk population. And they have said they have concerns about coming back
Oh,
and
it's
how
going
they
to
come back. Yeah.
impact our volunteers. It's going to impact our audience members.
Oh,
There's
yes.
so many
Yeah.
issues still to address and figure out. So the road is not coming to an end anytime soon.
Nor is
Yes,
gonna
it
be
was.
easy.
I had been talking about the at-risk population, and then my lovely bride reminded me that I was part of that population.
Thanks, honey.
yeah.
You can always count on her to keep you
Yep.
honest.
Yes.
So, Brad, anything that we haven't talked about today that you'd like to share with our audience?
Not that much, other than the fact that you guys are color coordinated as well as hairstyle.
Yeah.
Same.
This is Two Bald Guys Productions. So
Yes. There you go.
we didn't call each other up and plan this, but it happens a lot. So.
Yep.
But we appreciate everything
natural,
that you do and Mason does, and everyone at the Glema Mahr Center for the Arts. It's great to have what we consider a partner 30 minutes down the
Right.
road.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's worked out well for us, and I know it works with you. Is that if we need something, we call you and say, hey, we've got a company coming in, and we need more lighting instruments, and then or
Vice versa.
and vice versa,
Yeah.
and that really works out well.
Well, I certainly appreciate it. I know TJ does.
I do. A great deal.
He and Mason definitely have each other on speed dial, I think, for quite a few things.
Absolutely.
Well, we are hopeful that people will be back in our hall very soon, and also at the Glema Mahr Center.
Yes.
And we look forward to more great programming coming up there.
Just hanging there with us.
The show will go on.
Yes. We will get through this.
Thanks again, and thank you to all of our viewers for spending part of your day with us here, 6 feet apart.
All right. Well, I've been down so long that my mind can't get no rest.